I made this video that I titled PlayStation and Xbox in Cyberpunk 2077 Financial Reports shows how PC is basically the dominant platform. Now, I already got 2 comments that are caveats. One person said perceived dominance. I laughed. Another person made another statement, well, actually a long missive where they said, well, this is not really a good example for a few reasons. And then they stated 2 reasons, of which, even before I start reading any reasons to you, can we simply just look back for 20 seconds and look at a more recent launch that may have had some similarities with Cyberpunk 2077 in some sense, but is still performing better in terms of sales on PC than on consoles. I wonder if we can easily quickly look at Monster Hunter Wilds and then look away quickly, like, we didn't see it, like glance and glance away. Then we go back and read the missive and we see if there's actually any way that anybody can explain how the other platforms could do as well in this current market. We could also do something else, which is another exercise where we look at the growth of the PC market from around 2016 to 2020, and then look at the growth from 2020 to now, and how PC as a platform has pretty much been exploding. Regardless of what anybody might say or any caveats that are out here, the data by itself stands on its own 2 feet. I cannot basically go ahead and make or foment hundreds of millions of new PC gamers, or I guess I would say hundreds of millions of, PC gamers, and the millions that are joining in terms of adopting the new technologies and so on and so forth. With this in mind, the data, another game that recently launched, and how gamers have adopted that other game in terms of more being on PC than console, let's now read the missive where this person said, first, the game was an absolute disaster on all platforms when it launched. That's not true. I bought the game when it launched. I covered the game on my main channel, the Gamer Dad channel. On PC, the game ran just very well. It was just weird. On PS4, the game was absolute bollocks. In fact, they did not give PlayStation and Xbox One keys to reviewers. I remember that. I remember SkillUp complaining and saying there are no console keys given out. What could be going on here? The game had some problems at launch. I'm not saying that the game was flawless at launch, but to say the game was an absolute disaster on all platforms is a high level of misconstruing exactly what went on with Cyberpunk 2077. In fact, Monster Hunter Wilds, in terms of its performance, has also been quite, weird, and also Marvel Spider-Man 2. So one thing I've learned, though, is performance has never really stopped gamers from enjoying a game that they enjoy. I've seen gamers, especially with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, 27 FPS their way through games. And many of these people have gaming PCs that pump out 127 frames. But many of them looked at a small screen and played Zelda at 27 FPS and enjoyed every single minute of it. So again, I don't think we can actually take this particular notion as the general for what happened to the game. You said it was in such a bad shape that Sony pulled it off from their store. Yes, but there were people who played on PS5 that said that the PS5 actually worked fine and the Series X. Both Sony and Microsoft on Xbox offered refunds beyond their normal refund window for the game. I don't remember Xbox offering refunds, but I remember PlayStation offering, refunds. So maybe you are correct there. But Arkham Knight, its PC version, also went through the same thing as well. But it did not slow down the fact that the game sold very well and probably is now, dominated on the PC platform if we can get any recent sales number because of how much it's been on sale and the fact that the quality is better on PC, but different conversation. The last patch for the PS4 version was in 2022, and if you want to get patches past that due date, you have to run the PS5 version. So they killed it on the PS4 3 years ago. And the second, at the time that this game was on a PC, was used as a torture test game for benchmarks for a while because it had very high system requirements to run good. It ran fine on my PC, and my PC was a 1080 Ti at the time. I didn't have a 20 series GPU in 2020. I didn't buy any of that, and was an early adopter of ray tracing. It didn't matter. You could play the game without ray tracing then. If you wanted to benchmark various PC hardware configurations, especially GPUs, you would run Cyberpunk 2077 against it to crush the platforms. Essentially became a PC game, and consoles did not really touch it for over a year, and after many, many updates. Again, I can simply just point you to Monster Hunter Wilds. It's that simple. I can simply point you to games that have outsold on PC over consoles without any of these hitches, like Elden Ring. I can also point you to Hogwarts Legacy. We have no, shortage of games that this can be ported, that can be pointed to, because Cyberpunk 2077 is in a PC-affinity genre. I wish you would actually pay attention, study the gaming, behavior of a lot of the different, platforms of gamers. If you say the word RPG on PC, you'll do 5 million just by saying RPG. There are 5 million PC gamers who hit pre-order the moment they hear RPG. They don't care what it is. It's just the way many PC gamers behave. I'm being facetious, don't get me wrong, but there was another RPG that it had its own challenges as well and was an exclusive, mixed reviews, that sold as one of the top selling games in 2023, being exclusive to console on Game Pass and PC on Game Pass, but still sold very well on Steam in 2023 without being a multi-plat. That was Starfield. There was another one, Baldur's Gate 3. So it should not surprise you that an RPG is selling more on PC than consoles. This is a trend. And again, I'm very interested in having these conversations, but I feel like a lot of folk who play on these platforms are not really cognizant of how the behaviors of a lot of gamers actually go. I mean, there are gamers that are right now still pushing, Monster Hunter Wilds, even with poor performance. They're still pushing through it. They don't care, because it's that kind of game for many of them. So it's very important that we actually understand what's going on in this. You said, I personally bought it on sale this last Black Friday on 2024 for $39, and that included the game and only the DLC, heavily patched. Runs great on a PS5 Pro. I remember the last conversation that we had, you told me that you game on a PC. I remember you pointed out all of the different, specs of your PC, but I'm not putting your username out here, but I'm just questioning. You just said the PS5 Pro. Interesting. Okay. I'm not going to say anything more. I don't think that should actually, affect the conversation. But I have to also let you know that there are other games that have simply obliterated in terms of their PC purchases over the consoles. And in some cases, yes, like Starfield, it wasn't available on PlayStation, but it was too easy. A Bethesda game coming out on PlayStation, and then you had Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, if we even go back to even some third-party titles, I'm not going to stop just yet. Let me continue to go ahead and pile on more evidence. How about Black Myth Wukong? Black Myth Wukong, after all the talk that, the game, increased the inquiry of PS5s in China, still obliterated in terms of sales, the PlayStation, if you actually look at the comparison. This was not on Xbox, and it's a third-party game, and it still did very well on the PC platform. So the PC platform is actually, in my opinion, a platform where you're going to have a lot of possibilities in terms of being able to sell your game if it has the quality and if it meets the genre, if you have the budget anyways to make a game like that most PC gamers like. So this is not something to go ahead and maybe try to, in a sense, attack console. It's like punching down. We're not doing it. We're just stating a fact. We're stating it from the data that's available that we're seeing over time. And what's even crazier is a lot of gamers will play their RPGs. They'll play them for a very long time. This is why it was a colossal mistake for Final Fantasy to not launch day one on PC with its games. It was a fatal error to go and launch those games exclusive on PlayStation. It was just, I think, an entire misunderstanding of what the PC audience and player base was. Those two games, the Final Fantasy VII series, would have easily brought in 15M, 10M, like way more money than PlayStation could money had those games for, had they sold them on PC at launch, and they provided good quality for their fans. That's another thing too. That's something that must be said. I just thought I'd point that out because, again, sometimes you say this stuff and folk on console want to come in and start to, don't do that. Don't do it. You do it, the data is going to pretty much go ahead and dunk on you. And I'm not interested in dunking on you. I'm just saying that the downplaying, it doesn't help. Okay? Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.